One of the nice things about most hunting shotguns is that they come with interchangeable choke tubes. Now, before we get into how to change the interchangeable choke tubes that come on the Heritage Badlander field, let's talk a little bit about how shotguns work and why chokes are important. So, if you'll bear with me for a little bit of gun nerdery, we'll explain why this is something that you should really check out with your shotgun. So, how shotguns work, obviously, they throw a pattern of shot. A gun like the Badlander coach model has a cylinder bore. There's nothing in this barrel that constricts or changes the pattern of the shot, and that's why it's always been a popular bore for personal protection and home defense because it will throw a relatively wider shot pattern, which in theory means you have a higher likelihood of scoring a hit. Now, with hunting shotguns, you want to be able to manipulate your pattern based on the type of game that you're going after. For example, in my old pheasant hunting shotgun, I would run a tighter choke because I wanted to throw a smaller pattern to concentrate more shot into one area than I would get with a wider pattern. The Heritage Badlander comes with 5 interchangeable choke tubes, which use the mobile choke tube pattern. The different patterns that you can get in your Badlander field are a full choke, an improved modified, a modified, an improved cylinder, and a cylinder choke. The order that I read those in, full to cylinder, runs the order from the tightest possible pattern to the widest pattern, which we talked about with the coach gun. The coach gun has a cylinder bore that will give you the widest pattern. A full choke has the tightest pattern. Now, what is very important to do when you're figuring out what to pattern your shotgun with and what choke tube to use is to actually shoot it with the rounds that you're going to use at a real engagement distance that you're going to be shooting them at. The best way to pattern a shotgun is to get a great big sheet of butcher paper and put it out at whatever distance you're going to shoot, and then shoot your shotgun at it. That will tell you where your pattern hits, where your pattern is more dense, where your pattern is least dense. Then you can go about changing the choke tubes to change that pattern to make it denser or looser wherever you would like. So now let's take a look at how to change the choke tubes on the Badlander field. The first thing I'm going to do, like I would do in any sort of gun handling situation, is I'm going to clear this out. Move the safety to the safe position, open the gun up, and visually inspect both barrels. The shotgun is clear. Now I can go about disassembling it. I find it's easier to do this disassembled because it allows me to just focus on the barrel versus having to deal with manipulating the stock and all of that other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the fore end off and then take the gun the rest of the way apart. Now I can lay those two pieces aside and I can just work with the barrels. With the Badlander, it comes with this handy little kit that has the choke tube wrench in it, and then the different chokes that you can put in the gun. Again, we have 5 chokes that we can go with in this gun. Right now, it has cylinder, an improved cylinder in it, and we're going to go ahead and take those out and switch them out for a full and an improved modified to give this gun a very tight pattern. We're going to take our wrench and we're going to drop it into the slots into the choke tube, and then we're just going to unscrew it. Once I get it most of the way out, I can just use my hand to take it the rest of the way, and then it slides out. I'll set that aside and do the other barrel. Removing choke tubes is the easy part. It's when you start putting them back in that you start to get stressed out because these are really fine threads. And if you've ever cross-threaded a choke tube, you've probably ruined your gun. So we want to be very careful during this process, once we get the choke tubes out, that we get the new ones in. Additionally, when you have a shotgun that has choke tubes, never fire it without some sort of choke tube inserted. The fouling from that can get into these very fine threads and ruin your gun. So you're always going to want to have a choke tube in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the full choke in the left barrel. We're going to start that by hand. And right about here, we're going to go ahead and use the wrench and tighten it the rest of the way down. There we go. There are also aftermarket choke tube wrenches that you can buy that are probably a little bit easier to work with because they'll have long handles. But again, the included wrench works just fine. Now, how tight do you want your choke tube to be? Pretty tight. You don't obviously want to strip the screws, but I also don't want this thing to come loose and come flying out of the gun in the middle of a hunt. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm pressing down and then just snugging it in good and tight. Now I'm going to put the improved modified into the right barrel. If I was doing this in preparation for a hunt, I would write down which choke I was putting in which barrel so that I would remember. I don't trust myself to say it out loud and then remember it when I need to. The reason I want to do that is because this gun has two triggers, I can pick which barrel I fire first, and the pattern that I get out of the left barrel or the right barrel is going to determine which one I want to be my primary shooting barrel, depending on the type of game that I'm going after. So let's go ahead and get this improved modified in here. Now that I have my two new chokes installed, I'll take the ones that I've removed from the gun, set them back in the box that comes with the gun, along with the choke tube wrench. Now I can put the shotgun back together. And that's it. Changing the choke tubes on the Heritage Badlander Field Series is an easy operation using the included tubes and the included chokes. Now you can get out to the range and pattern your Badlander to be ready for your next hunt.